Hi, everybody. This is Christina from Dastrom Run Clubs, and I help moms start a profitable kids fitness business where we teach growth mindset to kids through running games and drills. And today, I wanted to give you a little mindset training. It's something that I actually taught my clients yesterday, and we talked about yesterday in our group coaching call. And it was really well received. And I think people found a lot of help through it. So I figured, why not share it with all of you? And it's based on a true story. So ready? Here we go. Okay. So last week I was in Colorado at a ski resort because my kids snowboard and it was like this championship and whatever. So I was there all week long and it was Friday and or Thursday, and we were going to drive back home. And I said, between meetings, I just want to go out. I'm going to go up the lift once. I just want to have one last run. It's a beautiful, gorgeous day. It's the end of a season and it's been a hard season. So I just wanted to go and have like a nice ride down and kind of seal the season, go home and whatever. Right? Awesome. It's a great idea. So I get on the lift and there's not that many people. So it's like a 6-person lift. And so I'd go all the way on this side and this guy comes and he sits on the other side, which again, totally cool and normal. And I snowboard and he snowboards. And so we take off and I'm like, oh, I'm just, do you mind if I just bring down this thing? So it's like a bar that comes down and it's basically for safety so that you don't plunge right from the lift. And the guy looks and is like, no, leave it up. I'm like, no, but like, I'm afraid of heights. Like, can I please, bring it down? And he's like, if you're so afraid, hold on, let me put this, do not disturb, because this is a good story. All right. So he's like, okay, if you're so afraid of, of this, then you shouldn't be here in the first place. And never mind that, whatever, and it just got worse and worse. And this man said some horrific, horrible things to me. And I cursed like a sailor, and I have teenage boys who watch YouTube, but the things that this guy was telling me, I have never in my life been spoken to that way. And when I'm in shock like that, I have great comebacks 3 days later, but at that time I don't process. And so of course, all I do is cry. And the guy, it was like 7 minutes of the most uncomfortable minutes of my life. And not only that, but I was afraid. I was afraid for me. I was afraid for my safety, not just because I could plunge from the lift, but because this guy, there was something clearly wrong with him because nobody in their right mind speaks to you like that. And and he just went off and said like all these horrible, awful things to me. So I get off the lift and, whatever, he goes his way, I go my way. Ooh, here I am crying. And I'm going down the mountain and all I can do is repeat the story, like repeat and remember the things that he said and like these horrible things that he said. And every time that I would repeat them, it's like, I would get that anxiety again, or that like shock and hurt again. And I know enough to know that what I was doing, I was just like creating the neural pathways in my brain that makes this true, right? Because I was repeating the story over and over again. And it was not a good time. So I was not having fun. That whole vision of me doing my last lap for the season, that was not happening. I mean, this guy ruined it for me. So I sat down in the middle of the run and I'm like, you know what? Like, no, like, I do not want this guy. Like, I don't want to continue embedding this in my brain first. And I don't want this guy to live I don't want him to ruin my last run of the season. So I did one thing that like, it's a skill that I teach my clients, and it's called Ho'oponopono, which is basically like, it's like this Hawaiian prayer meditation thing. And I did it and it helped a little bit. And I was, so I continued going down the run, but I was like, it didn't feel good. Like I wasn't really able to release that and shock of the whole thing. So I had some time and back up on the lift I went. So I'm going back on the lift, and I remembered a skill that somebody taught me because I'm kind of a course junkie. I take all kinds of courses, and it was like take 6. And what it is that I had to come up with at least 6 possible reasons what could have happened that made this guy this way. And it doesn't forgive what he did, right? What he did was 100% wrong. I mean, I felt like I was attacked. So it has nothing to do with him, but it's 6 other perspectives about the situation, right? So, maybe his mom dropped him on his head when he was a baby, or maybe he has PTSD because he's a vet and I triggered something in him. Or maybe his wife just, he caught his wife cheating on him with his best friend. Or maybe his kid just got in trouble at school. And I just came up with like 10, 15, I don't know how many different reasons as to why maybe this man was as angry and as rude as he was. And the interesting thing is that something shifted. Not for, again, the situation didn't change, right? He was clearly wrong, and I was not forgiving him because what he did was wrong. And I wasn't accepting it because I don't accept people treating me that way. But having these other stories about what could have been helped me see him in a different light, maybe like more of a human. But more than anything, it's almost like if this was my vision, right? Like, this man is so horrible, and see, he said all these horrible things to me. By doing this take 6 and creating these other stories, which may or may not be true, I have no idea. It just it's instead of just thinking of that thing, it kind of gave me a little bit of distance from the feeling and from the anger, just enough distance so that I created a little bit of space. And when you have space between this like really strong emotion and you, then you can do something, right? Sometimes it's acceptance, sometimes it's action, sometimes it's for but it's like the intensity wasn't there, right? Because I was able to see that maybe, just maybe, this miserable man was miserable because something miserable happened to him, and I just happened to trigger it. And that helped, that distance, that space helped me enough that I was able to go down the mountain, and I had a jolly old time. So I closed my season with a bang. It was a beautiful ride. And then when I got to the bottom, I was like, okay, still not okay, right? Like, I don't want this man, because maybe he is having a bad day, but I don't want him to do that to anybody else, especially not to another woman. So I went and I reported him. So I went to the management of, Copper Mountain, of this resort, and I told them my experience. This is what happened. And they couldn't be nicer. And they're like, what clothes, was he wearing? What color helmet was he wearing? What, anything that could like distinguish him. And they got my pass so that they could see what time I was going through the lift. And they have cameras to see if they could recognize who he was and get him off the mountain. Now, they probably never found him. I have no idea what happened, and it didn't matter. What mattered is that I showed myself that I can be more in control of my emotions, that I am not going to let some asshole who's having a bad day ruin my day or my moment, given the things that I wanted to do, and that I controlled the controllables. I did the only thing that I could do, which was to report him. And so instead of feeling powerless, right, like crying because this man just said all these things, instead of just and ruining my day and damn it, him and why, blah, 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 instead of continuing down that path, which was, self-righteous indignation is like a really fun feeling to have, for like 2 minutes, but it's not useful and it's not good for me. So what I learned is that man has no control over me or over what I do or how I think. And that switched from powerlessness, from being stuck in that chairlift with this man berating me and calling me all kinds of names. Like it was really bad. So it switched me from the victim, it switched me from being powerless to powerful because I was taking back that moment. So I thought I'd share this with you. And again, the skill is that, let's say you have a situation where you're feeling like a really intense emotion, or you're replaying an event over and over and over in your brain. Let's say that you had an argument with your kid or with your spouse or whatever, some unpleasant thing. The more you repeat that negative story, the more it becomes a truth in your brain, and the harder it is to create that space for you to take action. So the skill is to come up with at least 6 different reasons or just different stories that could potentially be true. Even if they're crazy stories, and like maybe he was abducted by an alien, it doesn't matter. Like the validity, like not all stories are created equal, and it doesn't matter, but all that it's going to do is to help you create the space from like that really intense feeling to something broader, a different perspective. And then it just gives you that space for you to think about, okay, so how do I take control and what do I want to do next? So it's called Take 6. I hope that this is a skill that will help you the next time that you feel really frustrated. And if you catch yourself, it's like, but I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they said that. Can you believe they said that? I can't believe they said that. Like when you're in that motion, or that mindset of just repeating something negative over and over again, try to remember this and try it out because it's super helpful. And if you do, let me know how it goes. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.